Oh, good, good.
Still blowing my nose.
We have
Yeah.
only done that, so the kids make
Tis the season.
zero fun of us, of course, they're laughing.
But you know what? It's a gift you're giving them.
Nice, success.
Success.
So if
Oh.
one of us is gonna zoom in,
Yep,
do we say so beforehand? Like today, I was like, gosh.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If you know, if you
Yeah.
know.
If
Yeah.
you want.
Zoom,
you're
if
zooming
we're
in,
gonna zoom in or not.
Oh, God.
I know that Don,
There's enough time in front of a screen. That's the way I feel.
Oh.
Just here,
You know,
essentially.
and I.
Don,
When they have.
Right
a
now, we
meeting,
don't have anyone in the waiting room or.
I do think it's better to be in person.
Absolutely agree.
Don I know is,
And Alex said he
Oh,
was
thank
there,
you.
right?
is there a gentleman over there? Yeah. That's.
Okay. It's great. I mean.
There
you
he
know,
is.
It's coming along. It's like a miracle. I found myself just this morning. I was going up the stairs and I reached for the basket with my right arm. And it worked.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's amazing. You know, but it's a silly PT, so, you know, I've got a cane. I'm doing-
So you're letting anybody into these meetings?
Hello, sir.
We saved a comfy chair for you.
Yeah,
Yes,
well, it's, you know.
it's the throne.
How's your feeling, Beth?
Hey, we're like a chessboard, the
So-
king and the queen, and then who does that make us, Emily?
Was your-
I think we're bishops.
The one on.
Who's your-
Pike- Was your mother?
No.
Tuning in?
Your, yeah. She used to go to all the select board meetings.
Yes, she did.
God love her. I used to be in awe of that, because, you know, I can't get through that. I can't.
I've got 7:01.
7:01.
Yep.
We
Okay.
started.
Let's call the meeting to order. It's 7:01. And let's start with a roll call. DRB members is Patrick Bradley's here. John McKay.
Sue Pittiger.
Emily Myers.
Matt Stewart.
Linda Gray.
Okay,
Stephen True for staff, and we have no one on Zoom.
okay. Hey, doing it old school
Yeah.
style here.
Going forward. I like that.
But we do post these, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Great.
the video and the audio are posted.
okay, great. All right, let's move along here. We've all had a chance to look at tonight's agenda. Does anybody have any edits?
I do.
Yeah.
There is a typo in the boundary line adjustment, that I would like you all to note in line C, starting with after adjustment. The acreage,
Wait,
of 7.952 is incorrect.
Okay,
It is. In fact, 7.012 acres.
7.012.
Yes.
Okay.
It also went out in the memo, with that incorrect number. But I'm hoping we can, cure that now.
okay. All right, noted. With that edit, can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
I so moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Moving along, we have minutes. Thank you, Linda, from the November 7th meeting. Any edits or comments, suggestions, changes to the minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Emily. Second,
Done.
John.
I wasn't at that. meeting.
Done.
Yeah.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Any public comments? Any members of the public besides the landowners? I don't see any.
Oh, number.
Announcements or correspondence? I don't believe there are any.
Mhm.
Have your zoning administrator update section later. You have
Yes,
it.
yeah, we'll reserve.
Don't jump the gun. Boundary and, okay, so then we are moving into, the matter before us tonight. For a boundary line adjustment, so we're going, let's open up this public meeting. This is for matter 1 BLA 25. Boundary line adjustment by applicants Chris Brady, Lisa Close, and their limited liability company. We have before us an application and some exhibits. Which I'd like to move into the record. So we have, let's see, items. The application itself is. Normally we note these, we'll just call it, yeah.
So this process is not a public hearing.
Okay.
It is essentially a higher level administrative review.
Got it.
I as zoning administrator review the application against a set of criterias and recommend to the DRB, if it does comply with those criteria, that you authorize me to have the applicants file a final plat representing the boundary line adjustment.
Okay,
So
no exhibits.
typically,
That's-
we would organize this into a list of exhibits for you.
Okay.
But in this case, we don't have that degree of formality.
Brilliant. Do we need to bother with the swearing in and things of that nature?
Nope.
Okay, excellent. Hello. Would you like to just sort of give us a brief explanation of what you're requesting here?
We live on Partridge Hill, and the property adjacent to ours, came up for sale when the owner of the property passed away at the end of October. And we elected to purchase the property and do some renovations to it and do a boundary adjustment to increase our property, obviously decrease their property back to a little bit more than a half acre. And so where we go from that. We're
Got it.
likely to put it back on the market. And we were just
Okay,
looking to assure that it didn't become a tear down.
And you'll see on the table in front of you, there's a subdivision or survey plat representing the property. You'll note that on the survey, which is the most recently recorded survey for this property, it shows parcels A, B, and C. As part of our review, we sort of looked into what parcel C is, if it was, a lawfully developed parcel. And, based on, the applicant's, testimony to me, I believe that, parcel C may be an artifact from a partial survey that was done in the 70s. The applicants have attested to me that there is no, they don't recognize the parcel C as being part of their property. There's no specific use for that. There's no right of way that parcel provides. My read is that it's an artifact from a partial survey that was done sort of in the 80s.
When we
So-
came in to see Steve, we were talking about one, we've got two parcels now, we'd like to do a boundary adjustment, we wandered along Left Lavin Way. And he said, but there's three,
Hmm.
and we kind of said, there isn't
Yeah.
three, there's just two.
Is there a difference? Yeah, understood. And this is something I was asking myself actually this afternoon. Even looking at the Norwich zoning regs, like, is there a legal difference between parcel and lot?
They are often synonymous. You can have a parcel of lots. So
Okay.
You have a lot of parcels?
I probably could. It depends on where you look for that answer.
Okay,
Um,
What is interesting is when you go back and look at the deeds for those properties, the wording of them all is very similar. There were a number of subdivisions that accounted for that sort of configuration
mhm,
back in the sixties and seventies. And although the wording is almost identical on the properties, that particular one at the time of the survey, the most recent survey, for some reason got labeled and sort of a circumferential line around it, making it look like it was a standalone.
mhm.
I had served on zoning boards when I lived up north, and in our town, when you had small adjacent parcels in the same ownership, they merged. And so we came here assuming that that's what was going on here, but that's why we didn't even think about there being a parcel.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Bylaws may deem parcels, small lots merged. We don't do that automatically in the town of Norwich, though the listers recognize only two parcels. In this, they don't see that there's a parcel C, which is,
That's consistent with what, so I just, yeah, that's why, the lot 10-202 consists of both.
Yeah. we came from
Parcels
one,
A
we came
and
from
C.
one.
correct, and there's a deed for parcel C. But my recommendation would be that we merge these lots in effect, and when they file a final plat or a boundary survey representing this boundary adjustment, it will have the effect of, fixing this small
Yeah.
pre-existing non-conforming lot.
I have a question. Are there any structures on parcel C? No, but there's a residence on A and B. Yeah.
That is correct. And the other thing Stephen asked about, there is a right of way, someone said something about a right of way. There's a right of way to the home that's on the smaller parcel. In order to get into their driveway, they cut across a portion of our land, but it's deeded and it's in the books and.
Oh,
And it's on the other side of.
Right.
okay.
I see that here, asphalt drive.
Yes. that's-
So, having
Yeah.
reviewed that, and I think.
Yep.
Having a plan to resolve it, I think we can still handle this administratively. As it complies with the remaining criteria for administrative review. Which you'll see noted in the memo.
Yep,
So basically, like, there's nothing weird or oddball about this, we're just trying to administratively clean things up. Okay.
Correct,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
There's no intention to, maintain that as a non-conforming lot. The applicants were even really aware.
Right.
Yeah.
that it-
A lot of the issues, like this is very straightforward, a lot of the issues that we end up asking about with regard to actual hearings and stuff like that relating to other kinds of things like slope or development envelope, none of that applies here.
No,
Right.
no, nope.
I'm just curious, this is really more for curiosity.
Save it for that.
Or maybe
That's
just.
how it starts.
I don't know, a logic, I don't know, I'm a slave. You mentioned, clearly you're kind of squaring off this other parcel that you just purchased. And you said something about not wanting it to be a tear down or not, and again, it doesn't really matter to me, but I'm not sure, what, could you just for my logic, what is the reshaping of this kind of more to kind of squaring it off here? What does that have to do with?
It just seemed like more land is more opportunity to build a bigger structure. That's all
Gotcha,
it's-
gotcha. Yeah, good answer. That makes sense to me. So no question I had. So yeah, so Steve, thank you for breaking this down. Once we sort of, all feel comfortable with this, the fact that lot, what I would call lot 202 is really just kind of one lot, and the other lot being, what they just purchased, lot 203. Then this makes sense in terms of reading the schedule here, that both parcels are already developed, right? You know, 'cause that's the problem, is this damn word, they use the word parcel instead of lot.
Yeah, yeah.
May I ask another curiosity question, which
Yeah.
is, the parcel C, having that combined with parcel A ends up making parcel B, if I'm doing it right, kind of surrounded by it. Is that, I'm just curious, it's like, why did you not choose to have the weird little parcel C go with the one that it's next door to most? You know, it's got a longer boundary line connected to that one parcel.
I guess partly because those parcel configurations evolved during the time that my family and their family were living there. And I guess I didn't really think about it that way, that it just, there was one parcel on the road that, so it's got plenty of road frontage.
Yeah.
It's a nice square, it's not a peculiar shape like that sort of flag lot, the one that's down below that really
Right.
belongs with something else. And so in returning it to its original lot is what we've done with the very first lot.
Is it irrelevant?
I think it's the same, I think it's actually the same answer as mine, really, like that would certainly give it more. That would give it more space.
Well, and it doesn't matter. It's
It's not our business, but yeah,
I know,
I
but we're all
apologize,
nosy.
yeah, no, it's great.
Curious.
But that's-
Yeah, sure.
In 40 years, I'm gonna know every
Oh.
property in this town. Gonna be, I don't know what that'll be worth, but put me in that vault over there.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
All right, any other questions? I want to be respectful of time.
So I guess since parcel C was, I wanna say, like recently discovered to be within your lot. You've gone through to see that there's no, I guess, competing claims for parcel C, like the downhill lot of that. I know it's posted, they could be here if they were competing claim, but.
In the sense that we're doing this administratively, the adjoiners weren't formally noticed. So,
So the Ratliff property, or I guess it was formerly the Ratliff property or whatever. We can't be sure that this plot, since it's news to them. That it was within this. That parcel was within that lot. How do we know it can't be the same with the Ratliff property?
it was transferred by deed.
Okay,
So there is a deed reference where, these two are the grantees, I don't know. how that
the
works.
recipients,
Grantees. So it's deeded property to them.
okay,
If there is some conflict between, adjoining, neighbors, I'm not aware of it. And I don't believe there is, so.
They're pretty well aware of where the boundary line is between these parcels. The parcel C was not unknown to us.
okay,
What was unknown to us was the reference of the survey that's on record showing parcels.
Right.
it wasn't unknown to be part of your property, it was unknown that it was categorized as a separate bubble.
Yes.
Right.
What else?
Okay,
But it's not a separate bubble, like they kind of knew, everyone
That
on
makes
that hill
sense.
knew that.
Okay.
We surrounded that property.
You thought your boundary line was the. what would it be, eastern edge of property C, like that, yeah.
I didn't think that way.
You know that, and the town, I'm more interested in like the town. Considers lot 10-202.
Yeah,
And
that's
we
same
take taxes on all of that amount of space.
And they do.
If that's the
And-
case, then I don't think there's any real, that we're going on any edge.
And,
Yeah.
and I have only one question just for, because I was taking notes, like, so the correction about the 7.952 to 7.012, will you end up doing that in like the packet as well, or like, I was just wondering how we,
We'll attach the memo to the boundary line adjustment,
Uh-huh.
in our
and it
files.
will have.
And
the-
it'll be
yeah,
correct, it'll be
okay.
corrected. I mean, I have a corrected memo. I
Okay.
just didn't want to,
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
confuse anybody, prematurely.
We have the right to be confused later.
On the
That's
spot,
important. Okay.
absolutely.
is there a motion? Do we have to make a
And so
motion?
wait, just one last thing, I'm trying to do the math a little bit. So the remaining. Property. I'm sorry, the resultant smaller lot. It is going to be approximately 7/10 of an acre.
That's correct.
And it is being reduced by. Approximately 9/10 of an acre.
Yes,
Alright, so we don't have to worry about any of that half stuff, because they're both developed.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I have a map
Yeah.
question, just maybe a point of confusion. On the plat, on the tax map,
yep,
that it says parcel B in the plot across the street.
right,
yeah, we've been sort of loose talking about the, letters associated with the properties, so.
Okay,
B is across the street, it's actually A and C on the boundary survey.
okay.
Um,
And the property that we're shrinking,
Well, it's,
is its own parcel, with its own parcel ID.
it's on, okay.
Yeah.
is there a lot ID for that parcel B, whatever, you don't own across the street,
No, that's, Tim Beckber and Kate, White.
but it. And this again,
Previously.
yes, okay, that would have been such a salt to logic. If A, B, and C were not at one point together, but,
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
you're
we're
saying it
Yeah.
was.
thankfully,
15 years.
yeah.
So that's because this was 2002, so that makes sense, so at that time,
That's probably-
presumably it was all the same ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, except for this. The hoops.
Yes.
Yeah, hoops. Okay,
And when this boundary survey is recorded, all of this will be cleaned up.
And Patrick, I want to let you know, because I have the material from Pam for taking notes, I have an actual motion for
okay,
boundary line adjustment, so if we're ready, I'm happy to make it.
please, you have a second,
Second,
well, she's.
Well, wait a
made
minute,
motion.
here's the motion. I move that, number 1, BLA 25 meets the criteria in section 2.1 D1. And therefore, the zoning administrator may approve the filing with the town of a final plat of the boundary line adjustment. So, who was gonna second?
I was,
Okay,
thank you, Linda and Matt, all those in favor of adopting the motion, say aye.
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 Aye,
Great,
Matt, your aye,
I'm I.
okay.
I'm-
Unanimous.
fantastic.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
Just a personal question. Are you any relation to our dear old friend Virginia Close?
Yeah,
My auntie.
Your auntie, she was a lovely lady.
She was,
Yeah.
I remarked to Alyssa that Virginia was at every select board meeting.
Yes, yeah.
That's good.
What about,
And I-
what about Stuart and Kristen?
my brother.
Okay, nice.
Yes, my reputation precedes me.
Well, I'm also still optimistic that you might, one day join us as an alternate or, a member.
Oh, you referenced experience. No, we have we have a spot. You should join us.
It's a really
Oh,
fun group.
yeah, that's great.
Super cool,
Looks like-
super cool.
We
Super
welcome
cool.
knowledge. Your
Yeah,
knowledge would be useful.
you bet.
I will think about it, you guys.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
you.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
Chris.
And
Yeah,
stop by tomorrow and we can do the permit notification and all of that. Yep. Yep. And Matt, to get back to, to your question, even though this isn't a public hearing, I'm issuing a permit for this boundary line adjustment, which is an appealable action, so there'll be a permit
Okay.
notification. So if any of the neighbors have concerns, there is an opportunity to raise them.
Sorry, I was not paying full attention when we were first talking about this. Why in 2002 was this section C split off like this?
It was already split off. There was a
Okay.
deed, and there's a old sort of sketch plan that
Okay.
was done as a boundary survey.
Okay.
And it's not clear to me, if they intended at that
Mhm.
point to create that funny looking lot. I think it was a mistake.
mhm,
And in 2002, when the surveyor was doing the title search,
Sure.
found that, oh, look, there's this, we were looking
Funny looking.
parcel here and just sort of bubbled it up into the survey.
Okay.
So I've asked when they file the final plat,
Mhm.
I'm hoping in the survey notes that the surveyor can address the prior, just sort of address that in the Mylar they record.
So much Norwich history here. that you can
Yeah.
just written
Well,
out.
it's
No,
right next
it's-
door, so it's.
So you
I know
referenced
all
the
this stuff.
Ratliff. Where is
that's
that?
on the downhill side, so that's, yeah, so. As you read Partridge Hill Road, the way you read it, so to the right as you're looking at the map. And I was there last.
Sorry, is it
spring.
one of these, is it one of these names that is here right now? Sorry.
No,
Oh.
they've moved and Bruce has passed and Sandra's moved and now it's Tori and her husband just passed last.
Oh, sorry, I'm not being clear, maybe. Is it one of these properties that they at one point owned? Or is it not shown on
Yeah,
this
the
map?
Robert and Sandra.
Yeah.
Where, whatever.
Got it.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's Ratliff?
it was as of like 2 years ago.
New people now.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
Did Ratliff buy from Gelati?
It's that,
No.
it's that little like gray, it's that little gray looking like ski chalet looking.
Greg, there's a bunch
silly.
of fruit trees in front.
Did they say that they bought the Hughes property?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Good, good. They're great
so-
stewards.
Oh, good.
Are we, let's move along, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
We're still on, we're being filmed, right?
yes.
Excellent.
Oh,
We're being.
Hello.
like,
So-
hello, Alan.
That's spelled.
Yeah.
I was like, there, Canberra.
Zoning administrator update. We're moving along to item 7.
Did you
No.
record it?
It is recorded.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
Well,
To reenact it.
yeah. Great. This is our second meeting, fantastic. Okay, so just a little bit of background of the work that the planning commission is doing right now. We are in the process of trying to modernize our bylaws. They were last written in, last adopted in 2009. And there's been lots of legislation, rule changes, for municipal permitting, sort of at large. So we're in the process of identifying those areas that are, sort of critical to bring, into the 21st century. So,
Are the bylaws and regulations the same thing?
yeah, bylaws, land use regulations,
Okay.
zoning ordinance, it's a lot parcel, it's all synonymous.
Okay. Oh, God.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
I got one edit for the zoning regulations.
Yes.
21D.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Let's change that word.
What's that?
No, no.
So, I'm here to ask you as, serving members of the DRB, if you have any suggestions for clarity, process improvement, things that over time have just generally irked you, within our land use regulations. So we could have a discussion about that now, or you could take it absolutely offline and just email me. If you don't have any thoughts about it, that's also fine. But I do want
Mhm.
this board to be involved to the extent that they wish to be.
When they have a draft of any sort, would we have a chance to kind of
Yes,
take a
yeah,
read before it's proposed?
yes, yep, absolutely. There's a public process for adoption that involves, at a minimum, 2 public hearings, one held by the planning commission and another held by the select board. At any point, you
Yeah.
can participate.
I have 2 questions. One is, will the end result, and possibly not immediately if you're focusing on critical changes, but ultimately, will the the documents be shorter?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then will they remain as subdivision regulations and zoning? Or
We could do a unified document, I mean, it's more a matter of taste. I mean, I don't think there's any,
And again, I'm just curious. I feel like
Yeah.
very much a layperson in all this stuff.
Yeah, we all are.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I've seen all 3 different types, right? Like separate documents, a unified document. A document that doesn't call itself unified, but has everything in it. So, yeah, I don't know if we'll do that. I mean, the subdivision regulations were updated, more recently, though, 2013, so it's been a long time. So the sort of general topics that we're looking at right now are, the idea of lot consolidation, which was sort of an ongoing debate between, you know, the listers and the zoning office about how a lot merger, should happen.
Oh, I do have a comment to make in that context, because separately, having been on the BCA, there've been things that where people,
Sorry, what is this?
oh, that's Board of Civil Authority that reviews tax appeals, like when people are unhappy, they go first to the listers, and then if they're still unhappy with the lister's decision, they can file. And so it's been a few years, but there were a couple where it related to like lot consolidation and how the listers treated it, and then the comment from Melissa about how in a town that she's lived in, if the same owner bought it, then it was combined.
Automatically.
And so I just want to raise that. It's not like I have a distinct opinion. I don't know the pros
Yeah.
and cons, but I would say simple is better.
Absolutely, and there's, you know, I think the, you know, long story short, I mean, 'cause it went on for a few years, if I understand it correctly. The zoning office believed that any change to, a line, required a boundary line adjustment similar to this, or even more involving a public hearing. Which we're gonna change, because the state statute gives, you know, through the authority of having bylaws, the ability to deem lots automatically merged. And listers also have the authority to consider lands owned in common, contiguous lands owned in common ownership as a single parcel. So
For tax purposes?
for tax purposes.
But in it,
And the town of Norwich has a policy not really to do that.
which sometimes seems to ding the landowner, because you get stuck with, it's like, oh, you've got 2 parcels, so therefore you can have 2 houses, and so we're gonna tax you on that, even if you have no intention.
Right.
of doing
But I
that.
think I don't know. I mean, choice, like if there are development envelopes on 2 things. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like then you really are carrying 2 different, you gotta think of it as like lots or mailing addresses or like places.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like
There's
that,
value for
there's
development.
value for that.
If you buy a non-conforming lot that's adjacent to you, you don't want that
Yeah,
absorbed into your property, because you have like a gem that you could build on some 0.5 acre lot that you just bought. but if you're on a,
Well, you're saying because it's not some non-conforming grandfather thing? allows
yeah,
you
like
to
if
do
you
that?
buy a non-conforming
Yeah,
lot,
that's
that
a
has
little, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's automatically a subdivision.
a
So
consolidation.
so we're instituting so bylaws can, sort of answer that question. You know, there'll be administrative review of any, proposed mergers of lots to make sure that we're not affecting development envelope review. You know, any density calculation, that we're not, ignoring the fact that there's an existing building lot that was lawfully created, for example. So that's one of the topics. We're revising our parking requirements throughout the districts.
For less parking needed.
Less parking needed. My feeling is parking takes care of itself for the most part.
Horrible environmental impact too, to require parking when it's not actually.
Yeah, and there's, you know, all of this is in response to current legislation, Act
Yeah.
47 and Act 181.
Is any of that relevant outside of the like, the, what, I forget what the zone is here that we're in right now, Village Center or
Yeah, I
whatever?
mean, right now.
How are the?
Remember the childcare, remember the childcare one?
Oh, yeah.
Like there was. That's not in the village center, but it is like a business or it served the need of the public, and then. That was a big item of discussion of like, what areas considered parking,
Right,
lighting. It's just
Okay.
like, it requires a lot more infrastructure build out.
but that was okay, that was for like a different conditional
That was a
use
conditional use.
of like somewhere out in the woods.
Yeah, and you know, those uses that require a lot of, thought about parking will normally be conditional uses. We're just sort of lowering the amount that's mandatory.
I guess that's what I'm trying
And
to
giving
ask,
the
is like
DRB
for a
discretion.
non in the city, like how does the parking affect just if you buy in rural residential?
Good point. So
Is there a parking?
yeah, there
mandate?
is two parking spaces.
Okay.
So we're gonna reduce that to one.
Cool.
And hopefully, I mean, if it gets adopted, reduce that to one and not make additional parking necessary for an accessory dwelling.
Cool.
Accessory dwelling units are another topic that we're looking at. Right now, it's a conditional use. That's contrary to current law.
And so with accessory dwellings, maybe referred to guest houses sometimes as well. The guest house's size should not be limited to the principal dwelling size. Like if you have 1,000 square foot house, you shouldn't only be allowed to build a 500 square foot house.
That's it.
Oh, is it like a ratio normally?
It is, and that's just really
The
not
the
fair.
definition of an accessory dwelling unit does have a size threshold. However, municipalities can be less restrictive. And in general, so we're looking at that. I mean, the real sort of consideration is that it's got to be clearly subordinate to the primary dwelling.
Why?
So you don't have, you're not sort of loopholing multiple
You could rent out the
primary
auxiliary,
uses.
you can rent out an auxiliary dwelling, so like. Why can't someone decide that they wanna, their principal dwelling to live modestly in a small house and for income? Have an auxiliary dwelling that's the maximum size
They
structure?
could, you could reverse that situation. You don't have to live in the
In
primary
your
dwelling.
primary.
You can, as the owner of the lot, it has to be on an owner occupied lot. You could live in the
Right,
ADU.
You could move into the tiny house.
You can move into the tiny house and rent the mansion.
And I think
Here's
ways.
a question. If the owner of the lot, can they have two dwellings that are the same size?
That would be difficult to, sort of convince me that that is subordinate.
And does it, but so is there some policy that says it has to be? Like, I guess I would
Yeah,
say, like,
that's what-
what's the
Yeah.
policy reason for not allowing two dwellings on the same lot that are of equal size?
Well, if you're
i.e.
starting from
kind of a
scratch,
duplex or
that's
something.
like a duplex.
You
Right.
could, yeah,
Right.
you
If
could,
you're starting from
We
scratch.
need more Like, what's the
Yeah.
policy reason for that? Is it to preserve?
Well, probably a lot of it
picturesque
is
nature of
infrastructure.
our
First of
town?
all, our infrastructure won't support it. You know,
Depends where you
Well,
Well,
are.
you have to, that's the other, that's the other, part of
unless
the
we keep those
definitions.
nasty sewers out, you know, nothing's gonna happen.
But okay, maybe that's for the village, but if you also allow things like a hamlet or a farmstead cluster, which are like these tiny little blips in the zoning
Yeah.
regs, which allow for multiple auxiliary dwellings that don't specify the size. For someone who lives out in the woods, to me, it's like, oh, what am I allowed to do with like my most valuable asset? I have no idea.
Great.
And
Come to my office and we can talk about it.
yeah, that's. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it should get.
So we're looking at. and,
Should
you
be
know,
our designate from the DRB, so like,
Yeah,
I'll put these things down.
yeah, no, that sounds great.
I have
Thank
very
you.
limited focus on things, but yeah.
I can help you with that. I'm full-time. I can.
Okay, okay,
you
yeah.
Just bounce stuff off me.
I'm available this time of year.
He is great use case, he's always thinking about it.
Yeah, well,
I'm a
let's have
fan.
the conversation. I think it's valuable. And it would be great when we have this public meeting with the planning commission that one, or all of you show up to
Yeah.
sort of support the things we're doing. Accessory dwelling units, parking, accessory on-farm businesses,
Ooh,
Act 143.
More to be allowed? Is that the thrust of the legislation?
Yeah, I mean, it's to allow, municipal. Cause, you know, on farm, it's sort of this like gray area between,
Contractor's yard and farm.
no, between. What can be sort of municipally regulated and what can't be. So anything on it, essentially any building permit. For
Farm related.
farm related.
Yeah.
Doesn't, it's sort of automatically granted. We can't regulate, required agricultural practices.
Mhm.
Including building barns and manure structures and silos.
Employees.
You're saying if they
that.
turn around and make it some, like a retail, like
Yeah,
bit, then is that where you're going?
exactly. So, and I think that was in sort of response to a number of farms in the state of Vermont trying to be economically viable
mhm.
and, sort of growing these, farm stands from roadside to a little building.
Right.
Nice.
To something larger. And this is Act 143 is a way to regulate that, but still allow it in the context of,
And do we defer to the state's definition to the farm? Cause there's like. Sweetland farm, Cumberland farm, not a farm, Norwich farms, somewhere in between.
yeah, no, I mean, it's to qualify, under the provisions of 143, you have to be a designated farm.
And
Okay.
X amount of your income has to be from agricultural needs, like that.
Sure, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
That, absolutely, and. So, and this product that you sell out of these farm stands has to come from your farm.
Yeah.
Though
Okay.
now it can also
Okay.
come from other people's farms.
Sure.
Modified in Act 181, so we don't have
Like a
any,
roll up. Smart.
what's
So
that?
you can all come together in one place.
Yeah,
Different types of crop, different whatever.
But you can't sell fruit roll-ups or King Arthur flour bread from your farm stand.
I think
don't
you
think-
can.
I think you
Sweetland
can.
Farm sells
I think
King
you
Arthur
can.
flour bread at their front
Yeah.
end.
Baked goods
I don't want-
is.
I don't want that.
baked into the-
Okay.
Just something that's obviously not locally produced.
So we have, I mean, there's.
What about adding like food trucks like to those sites?
It's also balanced.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I
I'm
don't
in
think-
favor of.
Yeah,
I am
mean,
too.
that's- Yeah, sure.
Why not?
So, essentially. The sort of authority that the DRB will have for those would be site plan review. So if somebody wants to have an accessory on-farm business, they just need to go through a site plan review process with the DRB.
But so, and just to get clear in my head, in terms of reviewing the zoning regulations, so you've got a short list of things that you're trying to do pretty quickly.
Yep.
And then a comprehensive review of it is gonna take more time, right?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's sort of, we wanna, sort of break the seal on getting something adopted.
Mhm.
And then we move to review everything else. The other item that's up for this initial modernization round is the ability for the DRB to consider other uses that are not specifically listed as conditional or by right in a district. So if somebody, for example, contractor yard is a good example. We don't have a definition for a contractor's yard. So if somebody wanted to apply for that use,
Yeah.
if it's not on the list of conditional uses, it's prohibited. So-
Sorry, what does this mean? Just city slicker. You're parking big equipment on your, what is a contractor?
Contractor's yard is, well, sort of
Park-
exactly that.
But what, is this like a site concern? Like you're just parking something? Like
Well,
what's wrong with
I
that?
mean, they could
Could be
be,
the neighbor's concern.
yeah, it's.
You do know what? Jim Cook on Upper Lebanon Road, is it like that?
I don't know Jim Cook, and maybe maybe he has a lot of equipment that's, his personal equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, for his
thinking-
business, yeah. And
Okay.
I call that a contract.
So it's a landscaping business.
Yeah.
We have, there's an unpermitted landscaping business that has been in operation behind, is it Froggies? The
Fogs.
Fogs, yeah. It's been
Wow.
there for like 20 years. It's a landscaping business.
Wait, where?
Behind fog
Yeah,
on Route 5?
on Route 5,
Next to the tennis thing.
Mm.
sort of past it, yeah.
Oh, you drive past on the
Yeah.
Metro Road and
Yeah,
there's,
it's
yeah.
at the end
Oh.
there. And
Oh.
even if, even if you
Nice.
wanted to come into compliance,
Fontaine's
yes,
tired of stuff, he's got rocks and all this kind of stuff there.
exactly.
He's letting me take some rocks from.
He's a good guy, and
All right, yeah,
But,
yeah, the
you know,
store stuff. Oh,
so he's
okay.
beyond the sort of, we can't find him in violation.
Cause he's been there so long.
He's been there for
And
so long,
nobody's-
but the sort of sticky part of that is. Say we could, there's no path for him to come into compliance. So this is sort of like
Mhm.
a
Catch all.
catch-all.
Mhm.
And I think it's an authority that a lot of other DRBs and zoning boards of adjustment have, and
Yeah.
I want us to have it as well.
That's the number one thing I think is we should look at just what are other.
Yeah.
What are
Right.
other
Yeah.
towns?
But so what you're saying with this example is that right now, the way the regulations are written up, there's a list of things, conditional uses, and if the people who wrote that list didn't think of everything in the world, we're
No.
stuck now. We
Yeah.
can't add to it except through another method. And so would you like to put in language, to say, and any other thing we haven't thought of, kind of?
Et cetera, et
Yeah,
cetera.
in a much more sort of,
Legalistic way.
yeah, arch, kind of like
Yeah.
legalese kind
Okay.
of way, but yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
right.
That sounds like a good idea.
Makes
It
sense.
sounds practical.
And I've
Yeah.
had Two Rivers
Good.
has kindly given us some of their time, and they've sort of torn through all of the subdivision regulations and the land use regulations. Sort of identifying areas where we're out of compliance. So we got a lot of eyes working on this.
Nice.
Good.
There's a lot more work to do. I'd like to really have a very close look at our overlay districts. I think our
Mm.
shoreline.
And what we do with it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm all for designating these areas. But it's like, we don't really know how to act if something is in one of these districts.
Yeah, I mean, our bylaws as written in 2009, by the way, it took 10 years to go from the prior version to the 2009 version. A 10-year rewrite process.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so nobody's got time for that. But it really was kind of,
When you say shoreline, are you talking about Connecticut?
The river?
Or
Otter
streets,
PG.
streets too.
Oh,
right?
our shoreline
Right area.
overlay district, which is kind of does like riparian stuff, wetland stuff,
Vernal.
shoreline protection stuff. It,
Conservation Commission should be invited to this as well, I would think.
yeah, and I mean, it was.
Riparian means taking water from the ground.
Riparian just means like
Edge of the-
riverways,
Remember we had that case? a couple of years
streams,
ago?
rivers.
The edge of the streams and the
132.
rivers.
Yes, that's.
And all of this sort of preceded and anticipated future legislation. I mean, the the wetlands protection, the shoreland protection acts all came after. Those bylaws were written, so they were ahead of their times, but now they're behind the times,
Okay.
which we're trying to fix.
I'm just convinced if I'm gonna do any developing, it's gonna be underground. No one will know. or
Right.
see it.
I think that's a good.
Oh, no, you need a permit for that, excavation. Yeah,
OSHA,
oh, shut.
don't worry, your secret's safe.
It's like a TikTok lady who built, who's
Oh, the tunneler?
the tunneler, yeah.
I don't know about this.
I'm still not a TikTok person.
I feel like we should go off the record.
Okay,
Okay, but once we
We're
said
on the
TikTok.
Apparently,
Oh, my.
I mean, this is a,
uh,
hey,
I'm just-
join the DRB, we're a good group.
yeah, I'm trying to-
So I guess
Great.
while we're giving tips for what we think needs to be involved or what has to change. I'd gladly meet with you sometime soon while it's in my off season, we could talk about it.
Matt, come over.
And I guess I encourage everyone else to I guess in some sort of group email thread, any particular things you're thinking of. To let me know, because basically what I've said, building lot size. And some environmental concerns that I've bothered everyone about over the past couple of years, like those are the things that I looked through.
Yeah,
And with my felt have been like, huh. But everyone has their own specialty. so.
absolutely. I want to discourage you from doing it in like a group email.
You're right.
Just,
Open meeting law.
just in terms of open meeting law, not
Oh, yeah.
that we have any, that it's not the business of the DRB to make decisions about what goes
Policy.
into it. Just,
Could
but
we?
you can send emails to me and I can send it out to everybody,
Okay, so just everything through you,
everything through me.
easy enough?
Yep.
Easy.
Good,
And you guys saw the email about the training?
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you for that.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Any other business? Item A. It's nice to see you, Sue.
Thank you. It's nice to
Welcome
meet you.
back.
Thank you.
All right, hearing no other business, I propose, can we get a motion to close the meeting?
Yes, so
Seven
moved.
50.
So moved. Second.
So that is Sue and then Emily, right?
Right?
And everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Of course. Great. Who's not in
Great,
favor?
thank I have two more questions for you guys.
Sure, yes.
Um,